that happens, it's just gonna be a normal day, like people gonna be doing their thing, you know, and all of a sudden, it's gonna be terrifying for, you know, maybe 10 seconds to up to 2 minutes. And then during that time, life will change. Earthquake in San Francisco. What up, YouTube? It's your boy Jermaine back with another video. Now, this is one of those videos that, you know, I hope this doesn't happen anytime soon, but, you know, it's just something that I have been thinking about because lately I've been looking at a lot of high-rise apartments, and I really want to live in a high-rise building. Well, not necessarily a high-rise building, I want to live in a skyscraper. There's a difference. A high-rise building is anything over 12 stories. A skyscraper is anything over 40 stories. Now, I would love to live in a skyscraper. However, I was just thinking about something. That's very important. I've noticed this in the comments. Earthquakes. Okay, what about earthquakes? People have definitely, you know, said in the comments, oh, earthquakes. You know, I wouldn't want to be that high up if you're in an earthquake or something like that. And I was just thinking about that. And yeah, I was literally thinking about this for like a couple hours yesterday. I was just thinking about, dude, this is something to be concerned about. Like, what would happen in the event of an earthquake? And then I just really start to, you know, just really think critically about this. And one thing I want to point out here, a lot of people are afraid of heights. Bottom line, a lot of people are afraid of heights, okay? Now I'm going to get into San Francisco earthquakes in a minute, but here, a lot of people are afraid of heights. Think about how many people have never flown on an airplane, all right? Now, there's a lot of people that have never flown on an airplane. Now think about it, there are so many people out there that are simply afraid of heights. If they went to the top of a building, they would not want to be close to the window because they would be afraid to look out the window because they're just so high up. And I was the same way. Like, I was literally the same way. Like when I first like started to go to the top of skyscrapers, this was a couple years ago. Like I remember I was nervous like to look over the top, but now like I'm not nervous at all. Like it's just like nothing, you know. I guess I really haven't went high up like 150 level. I haven't went like to the top of Burj Khalifa, but that would be a little freaky to go to the top of Burj Khalifa because that's pretty dang high. Yeah, so I totally understand this. Most people in the US like live in a house. Most people do not live in the sky. So there's always going to be, you know, there's always going to be like negative talk about living in a skyscraper. Like people don't like living in buildings. Like that's just how it is. Like most people in this country don't. Like people complain about the HOH fees. People complain about the noise. You know, people complain about, you know, the elevators. People complain about the lack of privacy. You know, it's not really the American dream to live in a freaking box in the sky. The American dream is to own a house with a car, with a white picket fence, and a yard that you have to cut a couple times every month. You know, that's the American dream. The American dream is not to live in a skyscraper, but for the people who do want to live in skyscrapers, yo, it's pretty awesome. It's pretty cool. But on the flip side, what about an earthquake? So after, you know, just sort of doing a little bit of research and looking online, I come to the conclusion that this may sound really insane. Especially to all the people that are afraid of high-rise buildings and are afraid of skyscrapers and stuff like that, and also people that are afraid of earthquakes. If I had to pick a place to be in the city, in San Francisco, during an earthquake, of course, if this was an outdoor place, of course, I would pick Twin Peaks. Hands down. Twin Peaks is at the top of the city. I mean, when you're up at Twin Peaks, there's nothing that's gonna fall and hit you in the head because you are literally at the top of the city. However, it will be very unlikely that in the event of an earthquake that I would be at Twin Peaks. It would be very unlikely. I mean, I go there maybe once a week. Maybe I stay there for less than 15 minutes when I go. Like, just very unlikely that I would be there. But I would think that would be the safest place to be in the city, okay? Now, the safest building in the city. Now, this is gonna vary a lot, okay? Some people are gonna disagree with this a lot, but if I had to pick a building to be in any building to be in San Francisco during an earthquake? Well, first off, there's a lot of different buildings that are pretty dang strong. The Mint building across the street from Whole Foods at Church, I would assume that this would be a very, very strong building to be in. I would imagine that they're probably storing something very valuable there, and it's not upstairs. It's probably down in the ground, and it's probably pretty deep. I would imagine that would be a pretty dang safe place to be. This is like a federal building. Like, it's very, like, it just look at it like, oh my gosh, it looks like it can take some, So I would think this would probably be a pretty safe building to be in. There's also there's that police station that is in the Mission Bay that looks like a freaking undercover fortress that a lot of people just don't know. But if you pay close attention to this building, it's like this police station, dude, that I'm pretty sure that building can withstand a pretty powerful earthquake. I mean, this is a massive structure, and it's kind of like, there's some underkey factors with that building. I'm not gonna really talk about it in this video, but it's a pretty sophisticated building. The building I would pick to be in would be Salesforce. Hands down, it would be Salesforce. Salesforce is the tallest building on the West Coast. Jermaine, are you crazy? You want to be in Salesforce, like the tallest building on the West Coast during an earthquake? Yeah, I would pick the Salesforce. Now, if you look at the city, you look at different parts of the city. The marina has taken a lot of hit from earthquakes in the past. If you look at the marina neighborhood was built on landfill, just like the Soma neighborhood was built on landfill. Now, the Soma neighborhood is the same neighborhood that Salesforce Tower is built in. Okay, so in the marina neighborhood, when we had this earthquake, a lot of buildings that fell were 3-story buildings. These buildings basically pancake. Okay, basically the first floor is completely gone. And you have the 2 floors just drop down. So the first floor is completely gone. Now, a lot of buildings in the Marina District fell this way because of the way these buildings were built. These are wooden structures. Skyscrapers are not wooden structures, or at least the skyscrapers that we are building in this country, they're not wooden structures, all right? Wooden structures don't hold up the same as a metal structure. Now, in the marina neighborhood, it's very, very common for houses to have the first level a parking garage, or not necessarily a parking garage, but like a garage. Okay, maybe they have like 3 or 4 cars down below, and the whole building is supported by these small little columns, right, just spaced periodically throughout the bottom of the building, and those little columns are holding up this 3-story building up this structure on top. And when the ground shakes just a little bit and there's these small columns that's holding this structure, it just makes it very, very easy to just pancake. All right, so what do you have to do to stop this? You have to reinforce the building. You have to add like metal bars, and you have to make the bottom base of the building strong, so when an earthquake happens, it shakes and it doesn't break. Okay, same thing with skyscrapers. You want them to bend, you don't want them to break. Now, when a skyscraper is built, it's not built the same way that a single family home is built. No, it's not built the same way. When you build a single family home, or when you build one of those buildings that crashed down in the marina, these structures are very, very different to build. You don't need a crane to build those structures. You can just build these structures very, very simple. You don't need a lot of like heavy duty construction equipment to build a building like this. A skyscraper, on the other hand, there's a lot that goes into play when you want to build up in the sky. Okay, I would trust a skyscraper in an earthquake a lot more than I would trust a single family home. Now, I know a lot of people are going to say, what about the Millennium Tower? If you guys don't know about the Millennium Tower is a Class A residential building in San Francisco. You know, some of the penthouse units go for, $20+ million, right? I don't know if they're going for that today, But this building is literally sinking to the ground. It has a nickname called the Leaning Tower. I like to call it the Sinking Tower. You know, there's reports that you can go up in the Millennium Tower. You can sit back on the floor. You can take a marble. You can sit it on the floor, and the marble rolls on the other side of the building, because that's how much the building is sinking. Now, when this building was constructed, they did not do some key elements when they constructed this building. And you know, I've kind of looked into it, and it's going back and forth with the city and the building, the construction company. So the city, you know, said that, okay, you have to go down to this deep, right? So the construction company only went down that deep. Well, you know what? That wasn't deep enough. That wasn't deep enough. That wasn't deep enough. When the city told the construction company, yeah, you have to go down this deep, the construction company is not going a foot deeper, because it costs more money to go deeper. So obviously the city messed up here, the construction company messed up here, and who's losing out? The people that invested in those $1 million condos, they're losing out. They're losing out. Now, right now, they're in the process of fixing the Millennium Tower, or the Leaning Tower. Don't exactly know how they're gonna do it, but I guess they're gonna go underneath and they're gonna sort of jack the building up. I don't know how in the heck you jack up a 60-story building, but yeah, they're gonna go down, they're gonna jack it up, they're gonna do some engineering, and it's gonna be a-okay. It's kind of interesting. I was talking to one of the roommates at the place I'm living in now, and we're talking about like moving to like another place, and we're talking about this particular building that I'm living in, and he was like, oh no, I don't trust this building. In the event of an earthquake, I think it would just fall over. And you know, this building that we're in now, I want to say it's about maybe it's anywhere from 5 to 10 years old. I totally disagree. I think the new construction will stand, especially anything that that's reinforced with steel. I think will stand. I mean, maybe it would have some damage, but like falling over and being a dilapidated building, I just found that hard to believe. So one thing that is pretty insane about an earthquake is the sounds that you hear in an earthquake. So I've been in about 3 earthquakes. They've all been just very, very minor. And okay, it's all about the type of building that you're in. If you're in a wooden structure, it's going to sound loud, all right? Because you're going to actually hear the building move. But it won't be as loud as if you are in like a newer building, something like probably like a skyscraper, or maybe just maybe like a 3-story building or a 4-story building or something like that. Expect it to be pretty dang loud, and expect it to sound terrifying. All right. You know, the last time I was in an earthquake, the part that just scared me so much was the sounds. Like, it was literally the sounds I heard, because it was like, I've never heard that before. Like, it sounds horrible. Like, it sounds like I don't want to hear that. And then you're looking around and you see things moving. Luckily, I haven't been in an earthquake that lasted longer than like 10 seconds. Like earlier, before I made this video, I was literally on YouTube, like looking at earthquakes in Japan, and it was this video of these people on like they're on the 54th floor, and it was an earthquake going on, like on that high up. And you know, there's like, you know, a guy just standing there, just off to the side, just chilling. You know, the ground's shaking, you see people screaming, you see people running away from the windows. They're speaking in English. An earthquake just happened. Step away from the windows. And I was just thinking, wow. And then I watched some other videos of like, you know, someone on like the 30th floor just in their apartment, and it literally shook for like 2.5 minutes. You know, I watched some other video of some American guy in some airport in Tokyo, and like the ground shook for like 3 minutes. You know, and I'm just like, yeah, maybe it's not so bad to live in a skyscraper. Like, literally, maybe it's not so bad. Like, maybe it's not so bad. I mean, if you're on the ground, it's the same way. I mean, like, it's still gonna shake. You know, I guess if you're on the ground, you're just on the ground. But if you're on the ground, things can fall and hit you. So it may not be so safe to be on the ground, but like if you're in Twin Peaks, you're good. Ain't nothing gonna hit you in the city. Was thinking about this like hardcore, you know. This is something to think about, because when an earthquake happens here, it's just gonna happen, yo. Like it's gonna happen, and it's gonna catch everybody off guard, you know. It's just gonna be a normal day. Like you're just gonna be doing your thing. You're gonna be out. Just hopefully I'm not on a skateboard when it happens, because if I'm on a skateboard and an earthquake happens, like you're going down. You know, like especially if it starts to move, yeah, you're gonna crash. If you're on a bike, you're probably gonna crash. If it's a big, powerful quake, you know. But like when that happens, it's just gonna be a normal day. Like people gonna be doing their thing, you know, and all of a sudden, it's gonna be terrifying for, you know, maybe 10 seconds to up to 2 minutes, and then during that time, life will change. It'll definitely change. You know, a lot of people say that, oh yeah, when an earthquake happens, oh, the city's gonna be so cheap. Well, it really just depends. Like, it really depends. Like, it really depends. If an earthquake happened and the city got really cheap, that's a really bad earthquake. That's a really bad earthquake, guys. That is completely, that is the worst case scenario. You know, because if the city got that cheap, that means that the city would literally be decimated for the most part. Like it would be like no one would want to live here. It would be basically Detroit. So I don't think that would happen. I think that if an earthquake would happen, like maybe a chunk of buildings would go down. I imagine that rents would possibly go up, just because of, if there's a lot of damage, there's going to be more people looking for the fewer units that are available. Now, with the exception that we are in a pandemic right now and there's not as many people moving to the city, maybe if an earthquake happened today and a lot of housing was destroyed, maybe it would not be the same scenario than if we had an earthquake last year when the economy was booming and the city was full of people. I don't know what can happen. Maybe we could have an earthquake tomorrow, and maybe this could be a pretty powerful earthquake, and maybe there's not much damage in the city, you know? Or something else could happen, or maybe 20 years down the road, we have a pretty bad earthquake and there's lots of damage. It's just something we don't know when it's gonna happen. Like, it could happen tomorrow, it could happen in 20 years, it could happen in 100 years, you know? But it's just definitely something I think about, you know? I was looking at the comments and it was something I thought that I would sit down and talk about. Earthquakes in the city. Yeah, but if earthquake ever happens in the city, guys, I'll be the first one to go out and make videos for YouTube and like film stuff and film the looting, because I'm pretty sure if an earthquake pops off here, there's going to be a lot of looting. There's going to be a lot of looting. Like all those CVS stores are going to be decimated if an earthquake happens, because yo, it's gonna be so much chaos in this city. I mean, people are gonna be stuck everywhere, stuck in elevators. I mean, oh my gosh, like I would not want to work for the fire department in the event of an earthquake. I mean, it would literally be like people like just needing help like everywhere, like everywhere. And then there could be fires. I mean, a lot of the new buildings, they have cut off gas valves. So like if the ground starts shaking, it's gonna cut the gas off, right? And if it cuts the gas off, that's gonna stop a fire from happening, because fires are really devastating in earthquakes. Yeah, the ground shakes, but then the ground shakes, it breaks pipes underneath the grounds and it causes fires. A lot of the new buildings, you're not gonna have that situation. You know, you're not gonna have, a fire caused from an earthquake. A lot of the older buildings, that could possibly, be somewhat of a situation. But I'm pretty sure, at least in the Bay Area, a lot of buildings are like, they have the gas and the water like updated for earthquakes and stuff like that. But you just never know. You just never know. What if it's just that one to break that pipe that's earthquake proof up to a 7.5, and we just had a 7.6. I don't know. Random video, guys. Anyway, let's hope that we don't have an earthquake tomorrow or next week or ever again. Let's just hope that they just stop happening in the Bay Area. Let's just hope they just stop happening. But yeah, realistically speaking, they probably will keep happening. But I'm out. Like, comment, subscribe. Thanks a lot for watching. Peace out, yo.